in the scales, blood pythons and short tails, no fairy tales. Dropping knowledge about the herbs, wisdom prevails, keeping the reptiles safe, breaking out of jails. Bloods and bitches staying fire for the serpents. Edge of terrain, no need for disturbance. Straight facts, no myths, bringing the resurgence. Herb in community, we foster endurance. Beneath the surface of the scale, secrets unveiled. Red tails wagging, stories detailed. Always in your living room, knowledge without fail. Hissing out the wisdom, spreading through the mail. Tongues flicker, seeking out the truth. Non-stop learning, preaching it to the youth.
All right.
Hey everybody, it's me, the real Short Tail Sweetie here. Short Tail Sweetie 2 at this point.
The real.
Yeah, and we did come in a little bit early, so if you might catch us a little bit later at 1 o'clock, but that's okay. Um, I'm here with Kyle Markham from Markham Reptiles.
Hello, everybody. Ashley, thanks so much for having me.
I'm glad to have you on here and share and educate with everybody and just blab about white lips and
Those
big and
guys.
small and all in between.
Yeah, I liked that title. I was like, that sounds like a Western with Clint Eastwood.
Right? I'm always coming up like just with fly balls in my head real quick.
Very nice. Well done.
All right. So before we start, I want to do, as usual, my sponsor shout outs. And I'm glad I cleared up the whole story because, yeah, guys, that wasn't me messaging you for money real quick. That was not me. So delete that other account if you haven't already. All right, guys. So we are thanking our sponsors today, of course. Untamed Unhinged podcast with Chris and Creative Reptiles with Elias, as well as Shed Outfitters. I know it's springtime, so you can start taking off your winter coats and putting on your t-shirts and hoodies. So grab some nice apparel wear from them. Da, 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 da. And then I believe it's 10% off with the code Untamed. So that's always nice. Save you some money there. As well as we like to always shout out Cold Blooded Cafe. And you want to use the code Untamed20 for 20% off all your rodents and feeders. And then ship your reptiles. If you use the code Untamed15, you'll get 15% off of your shipping for your little reptiles. All right, let's jump right into. Oh, wait! Stop, everybody. I got a new sponsor with the Untamed Unhinged Reptile Network. I'm super excited. I'm kind of schoolgirl in here. I'm giddy. Um, we're giving a really warm welcome to Cold Blooded Caffeine. We got our own little bag of coffee brewing. So I like how they, every time you buy a bag of coffee or even tea, they donate to Rainforest. So best of both worlds, guys. Go check them out and go pick up an Untamed and Unhinged bag for me, please. All right, Kyle, tell us about you. What do you keep? How did you get started?
I guess I'll start with how I got started. So, I was like 15 years old. I was sitting in my room and my sister walked in and she had a ball python in a cage and she said, "Do you want this?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Good, because here it is." And she gave it to me. It was my first pet that was just mine to take care of. Like we had dogs and cats and stuff like that as a family, but my
Yeah,
first pet that was just mine was a ball python. So
that's awesome.
yeah, so her friend had gone to college and he left his snake basically, and he had named it Fang. And it was just the sweetest ball python, that was not at all threatening. So I just changed his name to Fluffy. And then,
I like that.
yeah, so that was my first snake was Fluffy. And then it just kind of grew from there. So now I keep and breed ball pythons. I keep northern white lip pythons, as you know. I'm definitely pairing those up to breed. So wish me luck
Saw,
on
I
that.
saw, I
Yeah,
saw.
I'm gonna keep pairing those up until I have success. So mark my words, you guys. I'm gonna have success with those. I'm gonna produce them, no matter how long it takes me, no matter how many tries it takes me. I'm gonna produce those. So
Absolutely. Don't give up.
yeah, I'm
You might
not
be
going to.
I might pick up another one of these guys from you.
They're absolutely awesome. I would be happy to make one available for you. You know, when I hash them.
Yeah.
Um, and it will be a when, not a if. I'm gonna do it until I get it done. I also keep a bunch of other stuff just because I like it. I have a green tree python. I have a scrub python. I have a reticulated python. I have a corn snake. I have a boa constrictor. And yeah, I have a coastal carpet. And then I
I'm
actually have some
jealous. I'm
other
jealous.
animals coming in next week that I'm going to be making some available and I'm going to be keeping some. So next week I have three northern white lips coming in, two adult captive bred males that are about 6 feet, and then I'm going to basically see if they work with my females. And
Mhm.
if they do, then I'll be keeping them, and if they don't, then I'll probably make them available. And I have a yearling. Yeah, white lips are beautiful. I love them. That's my passion right now. And I have a yearling male that someone already put a deposit on. So somebody already snagged that up. Shout out to Willie Morris. He's a great guy. I don't know if you know who that is, but if you don't, you should look him up. He's making some great
Yes.
YouTube videos. And then I have a couple jungle carpets coming in. I've always liked jungle carpets.
Oh, I'm jealous. I really
I'm gonna
want one of
actually make
those.
those available. Both of them. I have two jungle carpets. They're pure jungle carpets. I'll be sending lineage and all that good stuff, and a zebra jungle as well. So
That's the one I
zebras
want,
are
those
cool.
bright yellows.
They're super
Yeah.
cool. So all of those, I'm gonna make available. And yeah, so I'll have a bunch more animals next week, but some of those, I'll be making available to move on after I keep them, put a bunch of meals in them, and just make 100% sure that they're doing good. But yeah, I just keep stuff I like. I have a leopard
Yeah.
gecko, I forgot that, and I do have a Goliath bird eater tarantula Theraphosis steer. So
Oh, I really want to do that, but I'm also kind of a chicken because I
you
mean, I
know
have one
what?
that like passed away. I still have him, but like I
Yeah,
really kind of want one.
they're not
They're
that
so
bad.
cool.
I say they're not that bad because, I mean, if I went in there and just scooped it up, it would bite me.
Right.
But I touch it with a paintbrush.
Right. You temperament touch it all the
Yeah, and
time.
sometimes, and kind of rarely, but if it's having a good day, I'll just take it out and handle it, get a couple videos, and then put it back. But
Yeah,
that's
the
kind of the rarity. But usually it's flicking hairs. They're doing the growling noise with their legs and they're biting, or at least
yeah.
mine is. But
Yeah.
it's a super cool animal to watch, and it's always doing stuff that I'm like wondering about its intelligence because it's running around, it's drinking water, it's digging, it's doing different things that I'm like, this is interesting. It has all
And
these
that's
behaviors.
why and yeah, we can even talk to a arachnid cat and Jen because I know
I
we
know a
talk
raccoon
about
cat, I believe, has a Theraphosis steer me as well.
yeah. Um their intelligence level, I'm always just like there's something in there. Cause
I think there's something going on.
what's happening? Okay. I've seen my own tarantulas like move the water bowls, redecorate. I'm like, nah, they're doing something. They are just not just sitting there waiting for their next meal. They're doing things.
Yeah, I think there's something going on. I've heard people say there's other spiders that are definitely smarter though.
The jumper
But
spiders, jumping
yeah,
spiders, they're known
that's the
to
one. Yeah,
dream. They're
really.
scientifically backed up known to dream. Isn't that
Now,
crazy?
I don't mean to be a cynic at all. I really am curious. How do they know that they're dreaming?
I know though. That's my thing. It's like, okay, that's cool. Science says that they dream, so I guess I'll believe it. But are you watching it? Like, how are you doing this? I'll just believe it because science says it so.
I
So
mean, if you read up on it, there's hopefully some way that they know. You know.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
Do you see those posts that are like dogs dream about their owners and stuff like that? And then
Yeah,
every comment is like, how do you know that? Yeah, I always wonder certain things, but that's just a post. That's not like a study. So anyone can
right.
post anything on Instagram. I have a pit bull
I
too. I
know.
forgot that. I have a blue nose
Okay.
pit bull as well. So I love him. I know
All
this is
right.
a
If we're
reptile
naming off
podcast, but
things, I'm like you, and I keep things because I like them.
yeah,
Um.
that's good. That's the best
So
thing to do.
so
What you got?
we jumped on. Technically, the first snake that I brought into the house was a coral glow python, or like a banana,
Okay.
essentially. And Horace, he's my big guy. He lives in this big old 4x2. He don't really do much though, so he my pet rock. um, but I also at the time had two Brazilian rainbow boas on hold. So that was like another like beginner snake, which a lot of people were like, "That's wild." You do your
They're
research.
a cool species.
They really are. And there's like three different versions of them. You got the Brazilian, the Colombian, the Argentine. So they're all very, hello, they're very cool. And then I got my short tails, which I have to say is, I'm just adjusting my phone here for a second. Come on.
Wait, you have short tails? No, I'm just kidding.
I know, right? Yeah, I have a couple of short tails, my two. I want more. I think that's definitely my soul snake for sure.
Awesome.
I found my passion for sure. I got my corn snake. She was my like a lot of these guys are like I felt bad because they were either the last one at the store or like I just wanted them. So like Courtney was like the last breeder at the time, and I was like, I'm taking this one. And then I have a Mexican hognose.
A
Um,
Mexican hognose, very cool.
and then I got a blue tongue skink. My tarantulas, as everybody knows. I have two scorpions, which I never thought I'd ever keep scorpions before. Just like I never thought I'd keep tarantulas. But, you know, I never
They're
thought I'd keep snakes at one point in my life.
Would you say they're pretty similar to each other, the tarantulas and the scorpions?
Scorpions, she don't really do much. They both don't do much. I feel like
Right.
my tarantulas are a lot more active.
Then the scorpions.
Yeah. I still
Okay.
want to try and like I'm just gonna unplug this for a second. I still want to try and hold my Asian forest, but I also don't want to like push her past her limit and then I get pinched or stung.
End up on Kings of Pain.
Right? And then I did get over I used to like be like really like ooh roaches, like ghetto roaches. They're not the same thing. Uh, I had a colony of male hissers. Unfortunately, my male hissers they didn't produce, so they eventually died off. I have Honduras cave roaches though, and there are male and female, and I have researched, and they were all like, it's very hard for them to breed. They have to have specific conditions, etc. Well, apparently this house is just great, or whatever I'm doing is just great because I can't. They just keep coming. I just have a whole bunch of cave roaches. If anybody's ever interested, I got Cresties,
Cool.
and then I have a cat named Wally, but his government name we call him Walter.
His government name.
Yeah, and
Very
then
cool.
I have a Aussie. He is a big. He's my son. His name's Colby Jack.
Is an Aussie an Australian Shepherd?
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
cool.
The standard kind. I don't got the mini. I don't got toys. That's crazy. I said go big or go home.
There you go.
So yeah, we got quite the collection, me and you, don't we?
Very diverse collections, and that
And I
shows
do got a
that.
boa, yeah.
That's awesome. What kind of boa?
I thought she was I mean I guess it's the same thing, boa imperator, and then I looked more into it and I was talking to my friend Amelia Miranda, and she's like, "That's what we got down in Mexico. That's a Mexican boa."
Okay, very cool.
Yeah, yeah. And then I
Yeah,
just recently acquired this guy, Hades, who's currently in blue, so he's
wonderful.
not beautiful. I mean, he's beautiful, but he ain't his best looking self. And
That's a great
then
name for him as well.
Hades, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I like to name a lot of my animals after deities.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then I have my male, or my female, I should say, uh false chameleon.
Oh, those are
I
so
named
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm learning a lot about her.
Yeah, my buddy Dan has one of those. Those things look super cool.
Right?
Yeah.
But I've seen a couple. You got like the retics. Do you got perms?
No, I only have one retic, but I go a lot of places
Okay.
and deal with a lot of other people's animals. Like, I do YouTube tours and stuff like that.
Right, right.
Yeah, and it's cool because I can go and see like what I want this, what is keeping
Mhm.
this actually like, you know,
Right,
and I can look
right.
at it and pretty much test drive every animal before I decide if I want it or not, you know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
cool. So I do have one retic. She is 2 years old. She's probably 8 or 9 feet. Her name is Eva. We named her
Mhm.
after that robot from Wally.
That's what happened. Okay, I had another cat. She unfortunately passed. I originally had an Eva,
Oh,
and
that's cool.
then we got the Wally.
Oh,
So
that's
that's
very
so
cool. You had
funny.
both. That's very cool. Yeah. Yeah, the one with the plant. Yeah. Eva. But yeah, and then I looked up how to spell the name and it's spelled like Eve, so it's super confusing. And then
Right,
I'll write it
right.
and people will be like, "How's Eve?" And then I gotta explain the whole backstory though. At least it gives
Yeah.
me a chance to explain the backstory and be like, it's Eva, you know. But yeah, she's awesome. She's a sweetheart. She never struck at me one time. Um I got her from Bob Clark. So
Okay.
so she's like probably, as captive bred as you can get with a
Yeah.
reticulated python because he's been breeding them since like the 70s. Yeah.
Right.
So she's probably multiple generations in. But yeah, she's just a sweetheart. And then they're pretty intelligent. It's true they do have a strong food drive. So if you just got to tap train them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Tap them
Right.
on the head and that all just clicks off. And then I'll tap her on the head and then I'll just open her cage and then she'll come out on her own at her
Right.
own speed and she'll just like explore and then she'll be out for like 30 minutes and then I got to go do other stuff and I'm like trying to put her back and she wants to stay out and then
Yeah.
stuff like that. I'm like, there's definitely some intelligence going on here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's nice to see. It's almost like taking your dog for a walk and watching their
Yeah.
mentality change. It's like nice to let your animals out sometimes. I know you see that I do a lot of that too when the
And
weather's
that's
good.
what caught my eye when I first found you, and I had like, well, you caught my eye because a lot of the pretty pictures you were taking out in the sun. I
Yeah,
was
I
like, I
take a
like to
lot
do
of
that
pictures
too.
outside.
And then I saw you had the white lip, and I was like, that's the guy to ask my questions to.
Yeah, and I'll sit there and I'll take 40 pictures just to get one good one. And then, I'll be playing with every angle to the sun and
Makes you really tap into your little inner photographer,
I
man.
am I'm getting into my photographer vibe definitely with the white lips especially. But I like iridescence on everything. Sometimes I'll see iridescence on my boa and it's just a
Yeah,
normal boa and
yeah.
parasaur. And
I've
then I'm like,
seen
that's cool.
ball pythons. Like all snakes have iridescence, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, and it's a sign of healthy scales, and
Yeah.
it's pretty cool to see. And like my scrub python actually has really cool iridescence. It's probably my second most iridescent species that I have. It's just my scrub python,
Hmm.
um, and he was cool to work with too. I actually really enjoyed him. I got him as a challenge, and
That's another one that everybody's like, ooh, it's a carpet.
yeah, and it's like what? They're completely different than carpets. They're
Yes.
they're somewhat similar if you really generalize. Like they're semi-arboreal, you know what I mean? But they're actually vastly different. They're more built to be in a tree, I would say, than a carpet. They have a
Okay.
longer, thinner tail than a carpet python. They get significantly bigger than a carpet python.
Okay.
I've seen males that are 12 feet of the ones that we have in the United States.
Hmm.
And a lot of people don't realize that the Australian version, which is Somalia king horneye, is one of the biggest snakes in the world.
Yeah.
They've had those get up to like, it's in meters if you look it up because it's Australia, but they've had those get up to like 26 feet, and they're massive. So I mean,
Wow.
we in America do not have those. I think maybe a zoo somewhere has it, but as keepers, we don't have those because Australia obviously doesn't export. And people had them
Right.
years ago, but they just didn't successfully breed them or whatever. So we don't have them now. But we have the Indonesian version and
Okay.
the Papua New Guinea version. So
Okay.
yeah, like mine would be like a Papua Maruke locality. But yeah, so the males can get like 12 feet, and there's been females up to like 14 feet. So a female
Hmm.
would be like 12 to 14. A male would be like 9 to 12. A 12-foot male would be a really big male. But
Yeah.
they regularly get 9, 10, 11 feet as males. And that,
Okay.
so it's pretty, that's significantly bigger than most carpet pythons. And
Yeah.
their teeth are very different too. Um,
Really.
yeah, they have bigger teeth. Um, Mine has bitten me a lot, so it's not like it's horrible or something. And they're not like emerald tree boa teeth,
Right.
but you can see them coming out of the gums, and it's like a bunch of little needles.
Right.
And mine used to absolutely light me up. Like sometimes he would bite me in coil. He would do all types of stuff. He would bite me randomly. I would have him out for like 20 minutes, and he would just turn around and bite me, or bite himself, or like he would just rub against my skin and then bite me like a colubrid would or an anaconda or something that just bites,
Interesting.
just turn his head and bite. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know you guys did that. And then yeah, he was just interesting to figure out. And he's like 4 now, and literally it took me 3.5, 4 years just to figure him out and start to get an understanding going with him, and for him to calm down.
Now, did
You know,
you like, because I've had a similar experience with like the Mexican boa. Like, did you like start slow and take them out with small increments, or tap train them, or how did you really like
I didn't
understand them or tame them down?
I didn't tap train him, and you know what? Just thinking of it right now in retrospective, now knowing what size they get to, because I didn't really know the full size. I thought they get like 7, 8 feet when I got them, like a carpet.
Right.
Knowing now that he gets a bit bigger than that, because he's probably 6+ feet now, I would probably tap train him, but I didn't. And I actually, when I first got him, it was weird. I don't know. I got him in shed, and I held him, and he wasn't too bad. I mean, he actually must, but he didn't do anything
Isn't
else.
that a lovely smell?
It's the worst, and you know what? His smell's pretty bad. And actually, the worst musts I've ever had were from, and this is just out of stuff I have. So I'm not saying it's the worst of all, but scrub pythons, and I have this one white lip that was wild caught and used to musk a lot, and that one, his smells worse than the scrub. But the scrub, it's like very distinct. So like now I could walk in the room, and if he peed, I know it because he's peed on me a bunch of times, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, and you're
So
like, I know
I'm
that
like,
smell.
yeah, that's the one I washed that off before, you know. And yeah, so he would musk on me to begin with, but then he wouldn't really bite. And then it seemed like the bigger enclosures he got in, he would bite me more. And then
Okay.
he
So
actually
maybe he was
started,
like more defensive in the bigger enclosures?
maybe he didn't feel secure,
Yeah.
or he just saw us a lot walking
Yeah.
around, or stuff like that. I really don't know. But he actually went from not biting me and just musking to biting me and musking, and sometimes biting and wrapping, to
Hmm.
then he would bite me far less. And then now it's like I could get bit if I tried, but I'm not
Right.
trying to, you know. And like today, I could have got bit by him today, and I took him out. And what's up, Chris? And I took him out, and basically, I don't know if you ever used this trick, but he was all coiled up, ready to bite me in his cage. I had to change his water and do some other stuff, and I just walked up to him with a paper towel roll and like just put it right over his face, and then I grabbed his body.
You know, I never tried that,
Oh,
but
it works so well. I use it all the time. But
like a distraction.
it's literally all a distraction, and it's like a shield. So he just kind of like it for, and then it also taps him. You know what I mean? So it's
Right,
also
right.
like it's also contact. So I just literally covered his face up and just picked him right up, and then he spent like 20 minutes just climbing around stuff in the room and exploring, and then he was happy and he was fine. But yeah, like I do let him out a lot more now, and that's one thing that has calmed him down significantly. I let him out, and he really likes to be outside. Hey Chris, how's it going?
It's going good. I just wanted to jump on and say hi, brother.
Man, it's good to see you.
I'm at work, but I wanted to say hi. I appreciate you jumping on
Hi,
the podcast with
Chris.
Ashley.
Man, anytime, anytime, bro.
And I'm glad you're here. I'm glad she's doing the damn thing because, everybody's doing their part. We're trying to unite communities, and Ashley's very good at what she does. Sorry,
I
wrong way.
think you guys have a really cool podcast, so I'm glad to be a part of it.
So I'm going to let her finish this. I just wanted to say thank you for coming on. Ashley,
Thank
keep
you,
doing
Absolutely,
your
Chris.
thing.
man.
Keep doing the thing.
Absolutely. You have a great day at work, man.
All right, brother.
All right.
Oh God.
Yeah,
Look at
Chris
that.
is
We
a
got a
cool guy.
little nice surprise.
Yeah, that was a cool pop in. Yeah, he's a
No, but
cool
about
guy.
the scrub pythons, um,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so
I
they have
thought,
some intelligence too, which can work
yeah,
against you when you're trying to calm a snake down,
yeah,
or it can work for you if you do the right things. So I try to
right,
stimulate his brain, and then he's one of those snakes. Like he's arboreal, he's semi-arboreal, but if you put him in a tree, he will climb 30 feet up it. You know what I mean? Like he would
yeah,
go as high up as he could. But if you give him like something to aim at, he'll like reach out towards that instead of coming back towards your face. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And I noticed when he started striking at me, and scrub pythons, I don't know if they're notorious for this, but I've definitely looked up videos. Um, and they bite people in the face sometimes. And
Yeah, I think unfortunately, if you are in the wrong place, wrong spot, like you guys are watching me right now, and Hades is like in my face. It could happen any moment. Wrong place, wrong time.
yes, and a defensive animal, I think, gets really scared of your eyes. And there's a lot going on with our face from a heat pit perspective too. Like,
Right,
uh,
because that's what they see is like thermal camera kind
yes,
of type of
yeah,
vision.
exactly, yeah. I mean, we have hot breath. I don't mean to be saying people have bad breath because I hope you guys don't.
Like,
But but our breath is the temperature of it is hot, whether it's clean or not, right? But hopefully it is. And then our eyes are like hot as well, and then
yeah,
they're hotter than our skin, and then our skin
yeah,
is hot too. So it's like we look all crazy, you know what I mean? And then if we're all up in their face, then that's scary, you know.
right.
And you can see how that would be scary. So yeah, he's definitely struck right at my face, and
It's
I
scary if
noticed
somebody with hot breath gets in my face too. I'll fight back.
I might strike them too, right? Get that
Oh
hot breath
god.
away from me. Yeah,
Oh my
absolutely. So yeah,
god.
you understand. So yeah, that's what, he was triggered by certain things. And it took me a long time to realize what those things were and then work around them. So he was a pretty fun snake to have actually. He was more of a puzzle, I would say, than most other snakes that I've had.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now I
he's
got a
pretty
question
cool.
from Chris real quick. He
Awesome.
said, would you recommend a white lip python for a beginner snake? Now I'm gonna take my perspective and you can feel free to jump on this.
Okay, well, I'll let you answer and then I'll answer it too.
Cause I'm the same. I'm the same. I feel the same way when I got my Brazilian rainbow boas, and everybody was like, "They're hard. Good luck." Um, I say, do your research. Just like everybody, you've heard multiple people in the community. Do your research. That's the big thing. Um, and know what you can handle. Know that these snakes like high temperatures and also high humidity. So make sure that you got that set up. They're also that, but they are very, if you read, they can be a complicated species due to that. And then something that I talked about and how I found Kyle um, was this boy here has sensitive skin. White lips are notorious for having sensitive skin um, with humidity. And then I coming from larger snakes, the one day I was like, maybe I manhandled him too wrong or something. Oh my God, what happened? Because he tore his skin. So and it happened multiple times to the point where I was like, it's something I'm doing. And I reached out to my man Kyle over here, and I was like, you ever seen this before? You ever had this happen to you? And he was like, just get rid of what could be sharp objects in there. And I did that. Um, and I keep monitoring it. But it's one of those, in their genetics, in their DNA, they are known to have very sensitive, fragile skin. So just be aware of that. And in my case, they can be very finicky eaters. They like poultry a lot more than what I've heard from other keepers. So I don't know if you're willing to take a challenge. If you are that type of person where you want to take on a beginner snake and make it challenging for yourself, go for it. What you got to say, Kyle? What you want to say?
Oof, I got a lot to say, but it'll all be really useful. So, I
Yeah,
mean, if someone came to me and they had no idea of what they wanted to get as a beginner snake, and all they said to me was, "I want a snake, and it's my first snake," I probably wouldn't recommend a white lip python. Now, that being said, if someone wants a white lip python as their first snake, I'm a firm believer in your first snake could be any snake that you're willing to do the research on.
exactly.
So I definitely think that you can have a white lip python as your first snake and do great. And another facet to this is you have a big difference between wild caught and captive bred animals. So
Right,
there's that with most species, right? And
right.
I don't know if yours is wild caught or captive bred. Is yours wild caught or captive bred? No idea.
I'm
So
pretty sure he's captive, but and again, I'm not gonna name names.
there's
But
often
the
a
place
really
the place that
significant.
I got them and where they get their animals from, most of them are wild caught. So who
Yeah,
really
it
knows at this
sounds like
point?
due to the behavior, it sounds to me like it's a wild caught snake. Now I may be wrong, and I have wild caught white lip pythons too. I have both, but there's a significant price difference first of all, and then that there's a price difference for a reason. So
Right,
like I have a wild caught snake that for 11 months would not eat in front of me.
right.
He literally I put the food down and I left and he would eat it. And I didn't figure out that out.
I
I
think
mean, it
we
only took
talked
me a
about
couple
that.
weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah,
he's just shy. And now he comes out and then slams all the food right off the tongs, which is really cool to watch that change. But I've
yeah,
interacted with him a lot and stuff like that. And my captive bred has never eaten a single bird. I have
yeah,
two captive bred right now, and like I said, I'm getting three more next week and that are all U.S. captive bred, and I have three wild caughts as well. So, and there's a big difference even in the wild caughts, and I'll get to that in a second. But my
yeah,
captive bred male that I raised up is the captive bred I have the most time with, and he's about two now, but he just always has eaten rodents, and he's never had an issue with it, and he'll eat a bird too. He doesn't care, but I haven't even tried yet, and I'm sure that when
yeah,
I put whatever I put in there, he's gonna eat it. You know what I mean? I just know
yeah.
I can. He slams all the food that I
I
put in.
wish I could have had that.
Yeah, and
Because
that
for
that's
the
the
longest
difference.
time, he's like a year, probably almost two at this point. Um, and for almost a year, like he wouldn't eat and like he had to be force fed. And
Yeah, that's
finally
rough.
one day I was like, no, I'm gonna take a challenge on this guy because he's looking rough and like me being me, I want to save everybody. So I took him home. Um, Turns out all he needed was a frozen chick dangled in his face, and he went after that.
Yeah,
So
some
that's why
animals
I was
like
like,
different
oh,
food. And if it's a wild
yeah,
caught animal, then that would explain that to a T. It may not have ever
right,
seen a rodent, or at
right,
least not what we have as rodents.
right, right.
So,
And I tried different
yeah.
methods. I tried like tiny pinkies. I've tried frozen. I've tried like fresh. I've tried like the disgusting route, and I've brained it. Like
Oh
he's like,
man.
no, 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 no. I want birds. I just want chicken nuggies.
He said, "What is this horror movie?"
Yeah, man, it's
Yeah,
gruesome. But
yeah,
no, that
braiding
totally
is rough.
explained it.
But
That totally
yeah,
explains it.
I would think. I mean, this is just a guess. It sounds like from the behavior that he could be wild caught, and because usually your captive
I would
bred
not be
stuff,
shocked. I would not be
it'll
shocked.
yeah, like captive bred stuff, you may have trouble establishing it when it comes straight out of the egg, but once it's eating, and
Right.
there's not much issue to it. And I was saying, I have two females, and their age is like approximate. They're probably 4 to 5 years old, but they were wild caught as babies. And
Mhm.
then I have a male that is who I have no clue of his age, and he was wild caught as a full size adult. And their
Hmm.
behavior is completely different, and their feeding behavior is completely different as well. And the females are like they slam every bit of food I put in there, and like I said, the male would run from food for 11 months, but if I leave it in there, he would sneakily eat it when I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. The
You
ladies ain't
know,
shy. The ladies ain't shy, huh?
yeah, no,
That's
they are
like,
ready to go. And then
give it.
yes, for sure. So they were, they're almost like a long-term captive type situation. But so they're close to like a captive bred would be, but they're not.
Right.
And then you can tell that, and one of them is actually like puppy dog tame. Like she's a sweetheart. I'll put her all over my neck. She can come near my face.
Right.
I'll hand her to kids. I mean, she is
Yeah.
really sweet. And then the other female, she's never bit me either, but she is just really flighty, and she does the tail wiggle. You
That's what
know,
he does.
yeah, like the
That's
flappy, yeah. Yeah, and then I'm like, she has me cracking up with that because she'll just be slapping, her tail
yeah.
around. And then she is like, she never stops moving. Like I took her outside, and then I don't know how to describe it in like feet, but I have a pretty big yard, and she covered half my yard in like distance, just
Oh
slithering
my
different
god.
places.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
just, and the other one would just probably just sit there and then slowly start moving around. And then the size difference on them is maybe half a foot, so it shouldn't be that much of an activity difference. You know what I mean? But it's just the personality.
Right.
And yeah, I've noticed that they have good intelligence too. I don't keep mine super hot. I actually keep mine at like 86 on the hot spot.
Yeah.
Because I've looked up temperatures for Papua New Guinea, and I just talked to a lot of people that have kept them for a long time as well. But the temperature every day in Papua New Guinea is like 86 during the day and like 76 at night.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like it doesn't seem to change very much.
That
You
sounds
know,
very similar with like my short tails. As like a comparison. Hot range for them is like no more than 83 or 84, and
yes,
then
that's a
like
snake you shouldn't keep really
78.
hot, right? Because it changes
Yeah,
their mood, is
yeah.
what I've heard. Yeah.
Right. And then like on the lower end is like 77, 76. Um, and then like actually in Malaysia and like Borneo Island type of stuff, that's their weather. It does not get that hot. It's like like I said, like 84 on like a hot day for them. So
Yeah.
I'm like, that's where I need to be.
Yeah, people have like a default setting almost where they try to just keep everything like a
Almost
ball
like ball
python.
python. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then it'll be like,
I don't even
yeah,
like to keep my ball python that hot because I notice he keeps more on, and every animal is a different type of animal. Um,
absolutely.
they say 90, 90-degree basking spot, or no, because my guy stays where it's like 86, and
Yeah, exactly.
the lower or the cooler end.
Yeah,
Very
watching your
rarely will I
animal's
see him on the
behavior.
hot spot. Yeah,
Yeah, like we got all this information just from people who are watching their animal's behavior. I
yeah.
mean, people didn't get the first ball python and say 90, it's 90 on the hot spot, like, the ball python
Kyle,
told me it's
you
90.
crack me up.
All this information came from people just watching their animals. And
Yeah,
if you're one of the first people, or some people are the first people dealing with their species, and you just have to watch the animal and then you figure it out, you know.
yeah,
So that's, a big key. But yeah, to close up on white lip pythons, I would recommend getting something captive bred. if you don't want to deal with any of those problems. Um, and I would recommend getting it from someone that'll really give you a lot of good customer service on how to take care
Yeah,
of it and
that's the
stuff
most
like that.
important part for
And if
me.
you do all of that, then you should be fine. I mean, I don't see
Yeah.
any reason why you couldn't be fine. I don't think, they're awesome. I think they're awesome snakes. And I think they're smart too because of the way that they look at me. They look me right in the eyes and stuff like that. Like my larger female, she just comes out and just kind of like side eyes me like this,
Mhm.
just like stares at me. I'm like,
He's kind
hey.
of shy. He's kind of shy boy.
Yeah, I have some shy
But
ones
when
too.
but when
Yeah.
he's out, that's when he's like, "Now's my time." You know?
Yeah, it's like what I was saying about giving your dog a walk. It's like giving your snake a walk. Not that
Yeah,
they have the
yeah.
legs to do it, but letting them out, letting them get that enrichment, that interactive experience because
Right.
they need that to work their brain. Otherwise, they're just in a box hiding from you.
Right.
And that's
Now,
no way to live.
I thought it was funny because I showed everybody I was getting a white lip at the time, and they were like, "Is that a southern white lip?" And I was like, "Boy, I hope not." Because I
Yeah,
love
Southerns
me
are
some
cool too.
southerns are really cool, but like I really don't. I'll be honest, I don't even have the space for a
They're a
southern,
space
and they
issue for
get
me too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. They're it's like what, like 10, 9, 12 feet,
Yeah, I mean
something
somewhere in
like
that range.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, they need more space and once again they're an active species, especially for a
right.
python. They move a lot. So
Yeah,
you want to give them that space. And personally, like once you buy a retic, you're committing a lot of your space to that one animal.
right.
That's what
And I
people
don't
don't
think a lot of
understand.
people, right, I was gonna say I don't think a lot of people realize like retic, berm, etc. They're like, oh, it's this little baby that's this
Right.
size, and they're not realizing, oh, this gonna be a roommate. This needs a whole ass room.
Right. Right.
Like,
And I think if you get a retic, you should at least have a plan to in 5 years upgrade it to a custom cage.
yeah.
Something that it can have the space to move around in, and get that, enrichment from its environment. You know what I mean? Because just
Mhm.
trapping them in a small box, they're way too smart and they're really strong and they're literally, if you don't let them out, they'll push on the cage and break their own teeth and give themselves a mouth infection.
I've seen that with the retics. When she don't come out, or when one of them, the one that I was working with, when she wouldn't come out very much, she'd like smash her face or like give herself like boo
Yeah,
boos because she's trying to bust out, and I'm
yeah.
like, she needs
I don't,
enrichment.
I don't want to sound like I'm trying to tell people not to get a retic because my retic is one of my favorite animals. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, like, there's
Re-educate yourself. Do your research. Like, know
for
what you're getting
sure.
yourself into.
And I mean, who forgets when they see an adult retic? I mean, everyone remembers seeing an adult retic. It's a cool experience for them. It's like, whoa, look at this, and it really inspires you and makes you want to learn about snakes and stuff like that. And that's
Right.
why I like them is because they're just such an awe-inspiring animal. You know, but that being said, if you're getting a retic and you're wondering, your first question is how much does this cost, then you shouldn't even be getting a retic. You know,
Any animal. Any
right?
animal.
That's very true. That's very true. And you're right about that. And that should be the consideration with any reptile. But it's your mistakes are compounded the bigger the animal gets.
Right.
Because you could go buy this snake a regular retake for I don't know. I don't know what regular retakes cost, but I know they're like 50, $100 or something. At an
Some of
expo.
them. Some of
Yeah,
them.
just a
Yeah.
normal. And then, okay, that's cool, but you're going to spend thousands of dollars on enclosures for this animal. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah,
then and
yeah.
then you're going to spend.
And heating and thermostats and food and substrate. Like you got to keep up with it. You're not
Yeah.
just buying the snake.
Yeah, the food is a big one too. Like mine is
Mhm.
on extra small and small rabbits right now, and I think they're like somewhere from $10 to $15 a piece. And that being said, it lasts her like 3 weeks to a month at the size she's at right now. So it kind of evens out. But if you don't have that to stock up and buy for your snake, then
Right.
that's something you got to worry about too. But really, the main thing is space and the price on the enclosures is something, and
Mhm.
and time. Do you have time to wrestle with this animal, literally wrestle it and get it out to let it have enrichment, and then stop it from going into everything you don't want it to go into, and all this
Yeah.
stuff, and then clean it at the
Right.
same time and keep it clean. And you have to devote time to this animal every day, almost like it's a dog. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
higher level of responsibility. But once you do all that, you end up with an animal that you have this profound bond with, that's intelligent, that sees you come in the room and wants to come out, and
Right.
stuff like that, and that's very rewarding. So if anyone that's ready for it should experience it, but there's a lot of boxes to check off first. And then even having like a boa, like my boa just moved to a 6 foot enclosure. That takes up quite a bit of room. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then
Yeah.
having
I
the
know a couple
scrubs and the
people that have
carpets.
like I have the true red tails. True
Yes.
red tails. Like I and my dumbass. I was really like fighting myself one night. I was like, I really want this New Guinea or Guyana boa.
Yeah, Guyanas are
I
pretty. I,
really
I like
want her.
Surinames a lot.
The
Surinames are
Surinams,
beautiful.
yeah,
That's
I
what I want.
really
I
want.
want a Suriname one day. Suriname, however you say, I have no idea.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But one of
But
those
that's what
things.
happened.
Yeah, I want one of
One of
those.
my buddies had one, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna have to donate this to one of my local zoos because she's outgrown everything, custom and all of that at this point."
Yeah, like
So,
they need a big enclosure. They need a big
right.
enclosure. And then that's another animal that is like huge difference between wild caught and captive bred.
Yeah, which brings me
Huge
to my
difference.
next question, actually, here.
Sure.
Uh, was it Chris actually just asked this. He said, "Wild caughts are they worse to own?" What do you
It.
say? Captive bred between wild caught
I would say that if you're gonna
or stir
really,
in the pot?
really, and I do have an interesting perspective on this, but
Yeah.
I would say that if you're gonna generalize, you usually want to go captive bred. But that being said, I have three wild caught white lip pythons right now, and I have two captive bred. Both of the captive bred have bit me, and none of the wild caughts have. Not a single one of them.
That's wild.
Not one of them. So I mean, that being said, they're different ages.
Yeah.
I'm sure with pythons in general and snakes in general, the bigger they get, the more confident they get, the less they're going to
Mhm.
be just starting to, rip you up. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, so I don't know if it's because they're younger, but it does depend on personality of the animal. It depends on the time you put into it. Like
Yeah. I will.
so yeah, so that's a lot of the factors in that. And then I mean, if you're getting a fresh wild caught animal, you have to be ready to treat it with panicker for parasites. And
Yeah.
and you have
Yeah.
to be ready to, the second you get it, and a lot of people do this with every animal they get, and it's a good practice. The second you get it, put it in water to see if it has mites on it, and then you have to
Yeah.
extensively quarantine it. You know, if
Mhm.
you're getting a green tree python, does it have nidovirus? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And can that spread to the rest of my collection? Does this have some? There's a lot of considerations when you're buying a wild caught, and a lot
Yep.
of people, talk about it like it's a gamble, because it
It
kind of
really is
is. Yeah,
because their life. I mean, they for me, like captive bred, they're pretty healthy.
yeah,
Wild caught, you don't know if that animal's gonna be around.
yes. It's a roll of the
It really
dice.
is a gamble.
You could get a wild caught and do everything right, and it dies on you a week later. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
And it could die
And
on
that's the
you
scary
five
thing
months
too with
later.
the expos. With the
Yeah,
expos.
absolutely. I was talking to a guy, and I think it was a green tree python, but he bought an animal. No, it was the emerald tree. No, it was an Amazon tree boa. He bought an Amazon tree
Yes,
boa.
those are notorious for being wild caught and
Yeah, and it was
sold.
at the typical flipper table at the expo with a bunch of different, wild
Don't
caught
go to those
animals.
tables. Don't go to those tables. The ones that got everything on it, don't go. No.
Yes, and he bought it, and it died the next day.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
he didn't do it. You didn't do anything to kill that animal in a day. You
But
know,
that's me as like an empath type of person. I'm like, I'd be like, what did I do wrong?
and yeah, that's rough. And then when you get into breeding, right? Like there's
Yeah.
things that are gonna happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
An animal could be fully formed in the egg and just be dead. And it could be, it could be nothing you did. It could be that you incubated 1 degree wrong or whatever. I'm just making that up. But you could have done something slightly wrong. But that stuff, it will affect you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially if you're an animal person and you love animals. I've had a lot of different mishaps, but I'm not fully, I wouldn't say that I'm like hardened yet. You know what I mean? I'm not hardened to the point where if something goes wrong, I'm losing sleep. You know what I mean? I'm losing sleep over it because I love all these animals. You know what I mean? And
Right.
I put my heart and soul into taking care of them. So it is rough when you buy something and through no fault of your own it dies. You know what I
Right.
mean? And if you don't want to risk that, then captive bred is the way to go all day. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
That's
It's
a good way to answer that.
and that's why you have the price difference. That's why a wild caught white lip python is $400 or $500, but a captive bred one is $800 $1,000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why you have that price.
Yeah.
People wonder why there's such a price difference. And
You a
it
cheap
goes in,
boy.
yeah. And I have those too. You know what I mean? I have those too. But and then you get lucky sometimes. Like you got lucky with a great animal. You're holding
I
it, it's
do.
around your face, you're not worried about it. You
And
don't have
that's
to
the
keep peeking over.
misconception and why I'm glad I got you on is like white
Absolutely.
lips are notorious for being funky, for being having that stigma. So like here's an example, guys. He's just hanging. I could kiss him if
Absolutely.
I
And
really wanted to.
as far as snakes are concerned, I feel like they don't even take that much work to calm down a white lip python. I
Yeah.
mean, there's snakes I've had that are way more stubborn than white lip pythons as
Oh
far
yeah,
as
for
calming
sure.
down. And I don't think I've ever had a snake that didn't significantly calm down. Um, and some it's different if you buy like like some of the stuff I have coming in next week. I have like some 12-year-old males coming, and then my buddy was like, watch out, they're gonna light you up, and then
At least he warned you. At least he warned you.
oh yeah, he's cool, and he knows that the reason I want them is for my breeding project. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So that's the type of person that's gonna take a 6 foot, 12-year-old snake that's gonna light you up. It's
Yeah.
someone that's trying to breed it, and that's who's gonna buy that, not a pet owner. But
Right.
yeah, so it'll be interesting for me to see with those. Can an old dog learn new tricks, so to speak? I don't mean to keep talking about dogs, but
No, it's okay. I used to train dogs. I used to train dogs,
that's
so
very
I
cool.
get it.
But yeah, I just train snakes right now. But like my dog is
Snakes are
like
easier. Snakes are easier.
yeah. But yeah, so like it's like, can I teach a 12-year-old white lip python, to calm down? If I just put the time
Right.
in and it's already 12.
Right.
That'll be really interesting for me to see. And I have a feeling that I can at least calm it down some. You know what I
Right.
mean? I feel like I'll be able to calm it down some. And I've taken a lot of animals that were very young and calmed them within a week. I had a jungle carpet that the first time
Yeah.
I held it, it bit me like literally probably 30 to 50 times.
Just kept
And
going.
it bit and then it released and then it was like, oh, it's still there, bit again, released, bit again. And it literally just did that. It did everything. I literally put a tub underneath it, to just like a plastic tub, just so I could easily clean up all the musk. And then I sat there and I held it until it stopped. And I was like, okay, you done? And then I put it away. And then I took it out the next day and I held it and it bit me like 15 times. And then when it stopped, I put it away. And then the next day, it was like 8 times. You know what I mean? Until it was like five
Shit.
times, 2 times, until after 10 days, it never bit me again. It was 0 times. So it was kind of like, hey, Dre, what's up?
What's
And
up,
then
Dre?
it was like, it's kind of like you got to teach them. All they want to do is get put down because they're scared. So all you're doing is reinforcing that biting doesn't get you put down. And Lord help me, peeing does not get you put down. Please stop peeing on me. I hate I hate that even worse. I would rather usually get bit than get mussed on. Um,
R-
but
Yeah, because
they're just
I
doing it to
was
get away.
debating that. That's a good debate to have. Bit
That's a
or
good
must?
question, right? Would you rather get mussed on or bit?
Bit, because I've had my short tail girl in the first weeks of having her. That stunk my house for hours. Hours. I could take a bite. I could take a bite. It's fine. It's with those are different types of bites. They don't have sharp teeth, but they do pack a punch.
Oh yeah,
But
they have some power behind them. Yeah.
yeah. But I don't. I really take care of my house, and I always want to make sure that it smells good, even though I don't have anybody over. The
That's a
last
hard
thing I
smell to
need,
get rid of.
the last thing I need it is to be smelling like a can of Starkist tuna up in here,
That's a really good description, actually,
like
of
bad
what it
Starkist
smells like.
tuna.
Because musk, it's absolutely the worst. The last time I got musked on, it was my white lip that was wild caught as an adult, and he had
Yeah.
stopped musking on me for a long. It does stink so badly, but he had stopped musking on me for a long time, and I had just fed him a little bit bigger of a meal than normal, and he didn't feel like
Okay.
being picked up, but he had made his cage dirty. So I picked him up, and he lifted his tail up and went like this and
Oh.
sprayed it everywhere, and it was like on the walls, it was on like supplies I had, and I looked down, and right before I
Jeez.
had picked him up, I was his enclosure is right by the back door of my house. So I had picked him up, and my dog was waiting to be let out, and I looked down, and my dog's just standing there with white musk all over him. And I was like, oh no. And he just looked so sad. And I was like, this is like a nightmare, you know.
Oh
But
my god.
I'm not gonna lie, I took a quick picture of my dog and sent it to my wife. And she's like, what is that? And then but but yeah, I was like, he was a casualty today. But it was a lot of cleaning to be done after that. And it smelled horrible. It smelled exactly
Oh
like what you
my
said,
god.
like a can of tuna. Uh
I don't want
that's
to be
actually
bitten
my
on the
wife right
chicken.
there. That's my wife. And
Courtney?
yes, that is my
All
wife.
the entire time I've been like, Courtney.
Yeah, her
Who's
name is
Courtney?
Courtney.
Courtney.
Actually, well, I got and I would have said this even if she wasn't watching, but just because she's watching, shout out to my wife. She is my biggest
Yes.
supporter. She
Yes, she is.
she encourages me, when other people think I'm an absolute nut job. She encourages me, and she's like, "Yeah, you know what? Get a bunch of snakes, breed them. You know,
Yes.
get that. I don't care if you just got the species that's supposed to be the most angry species in the world. That's great. Go ahead and bring that in our house. Go ahead and do that." And she encourages me, and she's great. And yeah, she is really, really my backbone. So shout out to you.
Shout out to
Shout out to you,
Courtney.
baby.
A sister
Um,
from another sister.
sister from another mister. But yeah,
Yes.
and or a sister. That's true. She did come out of the sister. Sorry, I never thought that through. Um, but yeah, so yeah, she actually has never been bitten by any of the stuff we have, and I keep trying to get her to get the first bite, just to get it out the way. I'm like, here, pick that one up. It'll bite you. And she's like, no, no, no. But she has
I've
held.
seen you guys on YouTube. You guys are always like, you're doing quizzes with her. I
I
love
try to
it.
get her on there as much as possible because I love our
Courtney, we want to
dynamic.
see you more. We want to see you more.
I think yes, everybody wants to see you more, baby. So you definitely got to get on more. And she has a unique perspective. So she has the perspective of she didn't want any snakes. She was worried about me getting a snake, but then she's just so supportive that she was cool with it. And she
You're
she made
right.
herself cool with it, even though she wasn't comfortable. And
I
then
wish a
when
lot more people with that mindset
she's
would
open
do what
minded.
Courtney does. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I got a snake and she was like, "Oh, this is what having a snake is like. This is the easiest pet that I have ever had. It's easy to take care of. I didn't realize that they're not all crazy. You know, the first snake that I got out of the ones I have right now is my boa, Athena. And she is like unfazable. Like you could touch her head, you could touch her tail, and she doesn't even flinch. And I just spent so much time with her just sitting around, like chilling and watching TV and like doing all that stuff you do with a pet, and she is a great animal and that really showed my wife that it was not what she thought it was. And then she you watched the snake quiz video, right?
Right.
So she knows about, I mean, I know people that have had snakes for 20 years that messaged me and said she did better on that quiz than I did. So she really, and it's interesting when I talk about snakes, she doesn't just dismiss it like, "Oh, this is something I'm not interested in. That's his thing." She wants to know about it because it's my thing. She
Right.
wants to know
Well, that's
about it.
part of being a good wife.
Yeah, she is a wonderful wife. She is a wonderful wife. And my interests are her interests and vice versa. And it's nice to have someone remember, the details. And that's why I knew she'd kill it on the snake quiz. I legitimately did not show her that first. I didn't show her the list. I just popped up with the list and we did the quiz and she did really good. You
Yeah, she
know,
did. I was
I
like,
was I was
dang,
super proud of her. When
look
she
at
was
Courtney
like,
go.
you could tell it's an Amazon basin because of the white stripe. I was like,
Cheering her on. Yes, that's my
yeah,
baby.
yeah, because
I love
anybody
it. I
that's
love
been
this
keeping
power
snakes,
couple.
yeah,
Yes,
like,
Chris, we love the power couples.
yeah, I
That's what
mean,
you guys need to do. Come on, Courtney. You guys could do so much with the power couples. She could be teaching
absolutely.
people that are all like,
And she
about
she
snakes.
does.
She
She
could she
does.
could talk to people. I was afraid of them too, but now here I am with this crazy ass man in our
This
retic
crazy ass
chihuahuas.
man. Yeah, she does it all behind the scenes off camera. I just got to get her doing it on camera more because she does
Yeah,
it all off camera already. And when her
a
family
lot of
comes
it is
over,
the public speaking in the camera. I get it, girl. I don't like being here too sometimes.
she is introducing people to snakes left and right when they come over here. It'll be her before me. Like, do you want to hold a snake? And then stuff like that. Or she'll just
Oh
walk up
my
with a snake wrapped around her. And then people are like, "Is that a snake?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's not like it's pretty cool. Look at this." And then she'll be teaching a lot of people and she connects with people that are scared of snakes better than me because I've been keeping snakes 15 going on 20 years now. You know what I mean?
God.
So she connects with people so much better than me. As far as like she is more recent in that mentality of having that fear as well, so she understands them. So
Yeah.
I really like having her on for that reason as well, to show people that change and they can relate to her. I noticed my videos with her are some of my most liked videos. And you know, I'm not hopefully it's nothing that's wrong with me, it's something that's right with her. But
No,
people
I'm
definitely
so glad
relate
we
to her.
shout out Courtney, and now I know who Courtney is, who's commented. I love it. I love this power couple. Come on, Court.
She is wonderful, and it's nice having a wife or even a significant other that because some people have great girlfriends,
Right.
boyfriends, husbands, whatever. But it's nice, to just move around in the world, even if you're not together at that exact moment. If I'm out doing a tour or something, it's always in the back of my mind that I have this safe place to go back and rest my head. You know what I
I
mean? And
love
that's
it.
and that's wherever my
Yes.
wife and I are. So yeah, I
Yes.
don't mean to get too like soppy, but you know.
No, I live for this. Okay. I listen to a whole bunch of power dynamic couples every day so that I can learn to be better. When that
It's
time
great.
comes.
It's
But no, I
absolutely
love
great.
this. This is like the stuff I like to talk about too.
Yeah, I mean,
Couples and snakes.
we all get into this for the reptiles, but the real gem of being in
Is
this
the
community,
relationship and the
it's the
community.
people. It's the
Yeah.
people and learning about how people's lives, are constructed, and different things like that, and you can learn a lot from that you relate to. And a lot of us
Absolutely.
are introverted type people, and that's why we keep these animals and relate to them. And it's kind of
Yeah.
nice that we can talk about them and then get into these extroverted type conversations where we're actually discussing the dynamics of our life and stuff like that. You know what I
Right.
mean? That's what I
I
love
know,
about
like
this
I
community.
like NARBC, or like really any expos, like where we all come out of the shadows and we're like, "Hey, is that
Yeah, I
you?"
mean, my buddy Willie that I was telling you about, he was saying it's like a bunch of reptile nerds in one place. I love it.
It's like a
And
Comic-Con. Oh my
it's,
God.
yeah, you know what? He was actually comparing it to that, I believe. And I
You
totally
can
agree
be
with
like
him,
the biggest freak and like show up to a reptile expo and you are welcome, dude. You are like,
Yeah,
keep doing what you're
absolutely.
doing.
Right, and all they know is that guy has the coolest so and so whatever animal, you know what I mean?
Right.
And no one cares that, whatever, and it's pretty cool that we come, and it's such a diverse community. Everyone comes from such different
Yes.
backgrounds and walks of life, and a reptile keeper can look like anybody.
Yeah.
There's all types of pioneers that look like anybody that exists in the world, and that's what's really cool about this.
Right.
Yeah. And
I'm
then
living
like
for it for the girls that keep these large snakes or crazy
women are killing
arachnids.
it right now.
And I'm
And
like, oh my God.
and I actually I believe it was your podcast that you did with Jen. I caught that. And you guys were
Yeah.
talking about how it's fun for women to break in because uh I think it was yours with her. But basically men make spiders seem all scary, and then women kind of make them show that they're cute and adorable. It may have been her with Tarantula Cat.
Yeah, we were
Um,
all kind of, we had a whole spider senses podcast with all of us to keep arachnids.
yeah, so yeah, but I caught one of you guys' podcasts, and that was very true. Is like there are, and I've always been more into the calming the snake down, keeping it calm, and I want a snake that's like my pet. And I like to
Yeah.
show people too that these aren't scary animals. You know what I mean? But there are definitely guys that are kind of like, what is that guy's name? Like Coyote Petersons, that are
Oh my
like,
God,
oh
yeah.
my god, it's gonna bite me. Look at it, it's crazy. You know what I mean? And it's like, dude, chill, it's not that serious. Like, yeah, right, exactly. There's that manly urge to try and make it look so, cool and badass that like give me
Yeah.
props because I'm holding a Cali King, or whatever, I don't know.
Meanwhile, we got Jen who's like, look at my California
Right.
King, Aurora.
Absolutely. And she has a beautiful California king snake,
Yes,
actually.
she does.
And I'm going on with her next week, actually. So everybody tune into that.
I
Um,
will.
so that'll be super cool. But yeah, no, it's nice to see women. It's nice to see women in the industry, and they're killing it. Like Megan from Megaconda with the
Yeah.
albino anacondas,
Yeah.
and there's a bunch of women that are absolutely killing it. Um,
I'm
and
living
there's
for it. I'm here for
people
it.
will message me from like Germany and like Puerto Rico and all these different places, and just to talk about reptiles, and
Yeah.
and that too
And
is
that's
something
also
that I
what I
really
like
like.
too, is like people
Yeah.
I like, I probably won't meet them, but it's cool to connect that way too. All walks of life.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what, it's not the worst thing that if you go to herp in Puerto Rico, you know somebody. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, let's say you want to go to Puerto Rico and look for wild retics because retics are invasive over there, and you
Mhm.
want to go find one in the wild. Or I don't know if they have bushmasters. I know they do in Costa Rica, but I'm sure there's a bunch of cool snakes out there. And it's not the worst thing to know somebody in different places. And
Right.
yeah, someone that you have common interests with. Like I saw that you guys had Rob on. Uh eh,
Rob is keeping it real.
yeah,
Rob.
Rob is super cool, and I actually he offered me to go herping with me down where he lives, and that's something I really want to go do.
Yeah.
because he's always finding a bunch of stuff. And I was telling him like I have like hit or miss days. Like I'll go find a
Yeah.
bunch of stuff, or I'll just go find nothing. And then
Yeah.
yeah, we'll talk about herping and stuff like that. So that's someone I want to go herp with. And I don't know Rob from anywhere but online. You know, we
I
just talk
know.
to each other online,
The
but that's
internet is a weird place.
absolutely. And with us, it's weird in a good way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For the most part. And I really haven't had too many bad experiences. But one of my best friends right now is Dan from Shack Scales. And if you watch my
Dan,
videos,
yeah,
I'm sure
I
you've
just
seen
watched the
him.
blood. The
Yeah,
blood.
he has
He
some
does the
awesome
corn.
blood pythons. I want to go back because he actually has some big adults that had just eaten, and he didn't want to pull them
Oh.
out. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, Dan is like low key as they come. Like Dan doesn't care about social media. He doesn't even get on
Yeah.
Instagram. He got on to collaborate a bunch of my videos and then just never signed in again for like a month. And then like, yeah, he doesn't care at all. But he's somebody that I met on Instagram, and he did my first tour video for me. So basically,
Yeah.
this guy who I just met let me come over and walk into his house and see all of his animals.
Yeah.
And then
That's awesome.
yeah, and then like when I'm over there doing these tours, I'm there. I mean, the video may end up being 30 minutes to an hour, but I'm there for like 2, 3 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm talking to the person, I'm getting to know them, I'm learning about them, they're learning about me. And Dan has become a legitimate friend, like not even just snake friend, but he's
Right.
somebody
Just
that
like
I
an
just talk
outside
to.
outside world friend. Yeah.
Yeah, he's somebody, he's
That's what
just,
I love.
and
I love the community in that
he's
way.
one of my best friends right now, you know, and I met him through this community. And
Yeah.
like I just went and shot a venomous tour last weekend.
Yeah, you
Uh,
told me about that. Yeah, we gotta all watch that video.
that was a super cool experience. It was my first time handling venomous. I went there to Birdman Exotics. Colin, he's a great guy. Um, and I had about a 2 hour and some change drive to get there. So
Yeah.
before he actually, I hit him up to do the tour, and he said, "Do you just want to record the animals, or are you interested in learning to handle venomous?" And I said, "You know what?" I was like, "Wait, he's gonna let me handle something?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude. Like, I would love to handle something. That's awesome. You know what I mean?" And I
Kyle, I'm
drove.
so jealous of you right now. It's not even funny.
It was totally awesome, and I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous, right? I had a
Yeah.
long drive, and it was like 2 hours and some change to get there, and then I showed up, and he was outside waiting for me, and then
Yeah.
I was like, "What's up, man?" And then we walked right into the snake room immediately, and he has like a basically like a snake shed, kind of like Dre does, and then
Yeah.
but his is like venomous, and then we walk in there, and he's got a bunch of like forest cobras and rattlesnakes everywhere. And then I was like, "You know what? You said you're gonna let me handle something, right?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Let's just knock that part out right now, dude, because I'm nervous." You know what I mean? Like I'm nervous. I'm
Yeah.
excited. Let's go ahead and just do that so I can keep my mind so my mind is free of that, and then we can just do the rest of the video.
Right.
And then he was like, "All right, put on this mask. I'm gonna pull out a spitting cobra." And then
Okay, yeah, that's why you had the mask up. That's what I
yeah,
figured. I'm like,
yeah.
what are we
So
doing?
he pulled out an Indo-Chinese spitting cobra, which is also called a black and white spitting cobra or a Siamese spitting cobra.
Okay.
And he basically walked me through it. He was like, "All right, the cloaca on the snake is right here. Grab a little bit above the cloaca, and then put the hook on this part of its body right here." And then I did. I picked it right up, and he started taking a video. And then, of course, I'm nervous, and it was a surreal experience. I was like, "Wait, I'm holding a cobra
Right.
right now." And then he was like, "You know what? This actually looks pretty good. When most people handle a cobra for the first time, it doesn't look like this." You
Yeah.
know, and yeah, I don't know, it was fun. And then I held it for a bit. We got some videos of it, and then there was a western diamondback rattlesnake in there shedding, and then
Oh.
he needed to get the shed out, so he was like, "You want to hold this one too?" And I was like, "Sure." And then you know, we got some video of that, but it was pretty cool. It really changed my perspective on venomous keepers as a whole. I mean,
Yeah.
we were there. I was there for like 2 or 3 hours, and there was times when him and I were just sitting there talking with a rattlesnake a couple feet away from us, just sitting on the floor,
Yeah.
and we're just sitting there talking about life. You know what I mean, and different
That's
stuff.
awesome.
And we're watching the rattlesnake as our entertainment. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I'm like, not that I didn't understand it before, because I always thought that venomous people, I always knew they love snakes and that's why they do it. Just like we love snakes and that's why we keep what we keep. You know
Right.
what I mean? But I never fully understood it. And a lot of
Right.
people like see venomous keepers as someone with like a death wish.
Like
And
the Jeff Labanos or Labados or whatever the hell his name was. Yeah.
you like that guy. I don't know what his deal is. But yeah, so like
You know it's pretty bad if Morph Market rips you off their page, man.
he is ridiculous. Jeff is the worst. I'll dive back into that in a second, but he is the worst. But yeah, and then Colin showed me that these are just fascinating animals. And
They really
and
are.
the fascination level goes up because of what they're capable of. And it's really just interesting. And he's
Mhm.
super intelligent. He also explained to me why venomous keepers are always throwing around the scientific names. And I was like, man, you venomous guys, you know the scientific name of everything. Colin said, well, when you go to the doctor with a bite, what are you going to tell him bit you?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you have to know that type of venom, etc.
Yeah, and I was like, dude, I never thought of that. You can't just tell them the
Yeah.
common name, because that could be two different snakes. And then now they don't
Right.
know what antivenom to give you or how to treat your bite. So
Right.
it's a necessity to know the scientific names. And I didn't realize that. But yeah, there are just
I'm learning
moments.
more too with the tarantulas too. I'm trying to do. I know Recticat if you watch those. I'm trying to do more of the Latin scientific names.
That's another
Hard
one
though.
where the common names get confused, is tarantulas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know
Yeah.
what? I decided I'm not even going to go back and talk about Jeff Leibowitz, because I don't even want to talk about him. But
No, don't.
but yeah, with the tarantulas, like that's another one where I have a Goliath bird eater, but there's like three different Goliath bird eaters.
There's three. Yeah.
Right. And I
I
have the
have a
burgundy
bird eater.
one.
I have a bird eater. Mine's not Goliath. I got
Oh,
a
okay. So
salmon. I got
there
a
you go.
salmon, pink salmon.
Is that a pigtail? Is that the same thing?
Yeah, the pink salmon bird eater type of thing.
Those are pretty cool.
I,
So yeah, if you say bird eater, how many? I mean, that's a
everybody's gonna be
bunch of
like,
different
"What
spiders.
kind?"
People who don't know will just say okay, but people that know will be like, well, which one is it? Because they're
Yeah.
completely different. So that's why they really know the scientific names too. And I know the scientific names of snakes that I keep,
Yeah.
but I mean that's really it. You know what I mean? I don't know the scientific names of everything. I know. I think blood pythons or short tails. I don't know if it's one or both, but they're like Bronger Schmel or something.
Yeah, that one took a hot minute for me to pronounce right or like try to pronounce it. You have
Yeah,
Python Brongersami, that is
yeah.
a
I'm
blood
like,
python. Python Brettensteini, that is a Borneo, and then Python,
mm.
the easiest, Python Curtis, Sumatrans.
Yeah. Those Curtis are beautiful.
I really that's on my roster here pretty soon.
Yeah, you
Um,
definitely. Oh, you need to have one. I mean, they're beautiful.
well, I need to get a true blood python.
Oh, you know what? That's true, because you just have short tails, right?
Well, they're all short tails, but I have a hybrid.
Oh,
So
you have
I
a
would like to
hybrid. Is
go,
it a
yeah. So
hybrid blood short tail?
it's a, I think it's a blood Borneo, could be blood Sumatran for all I know.
Okay.
Um, but I really like because of just, I mean, I love her, but I really want to go about it the right way and get like a true blood, a true. I do have the true Borneo, um, and I do want my Sumatran, the darkest of dark.
They're so beautiful. I mean, they are so cool looking.
Like some of
Yeah.
those babies too are pretty black, and then just to think like, oh my god, you're gonna freaking be darker.
I knew that I still know him. I know that I know this guy in Florida, and basically he rescued an entire collection. So there was somebody that was, hoarding basically and not taking care of stuff.
Right.
And this guy, man, I was so jealous. He's sending me pictures, and he had a Sumatran, and he had a Dominican red mountain boa. And I'm
Oh,
like, dude.
dude.
And then, all this different stuff. And he's like, sending me all these. He's like, do you know what this is? And then, you know what this is? And then I was telling him what everything was, and I was so jealous. I was like, I can't believe you got a Dominican red mountain boa in there, bro. Like,
Yeah.
that is crazy. That's a snake that I've always wanted, but like, I have so many snakes on my list. I mean, I
Yeah,
think that so many snakes are cool, you
I
know.
know.
Um,
I
but
know
yeah.
my next interview here coming in May for a Cinco de Mayo celebration will
Oh,
be with him, but I'm not gonna mention it yet.
I
But
know
you know
exactly who
him.
it is. I won't mention it if you aren't.
I won't, because I wanna
He,
I wanna I wanna keep it a secret. I wanna get pumped for it.
I will say about him, he's a very awesome guy, and
Yes,
he's pulled
he
some
keeps
strings for me as well to
he
make some
keeps
things happen
blood
for me.
and venomous.
Yes, and I'm
But
glad you
I
said that because the Venomous tour that I just did, he set
yes.
it up.
Yeah, when
So
I was
yeah.
like, I was very interested. He was showing me Gaboon Vipers at the time, and we were talking, and he's like, they very much have like a blood python temperament, and I was like, well, I'm jealous because I really want a Gaboon Viper already, but I live in Illinois, so
Have you seen the albinos?
yeah,
Oh man. And then the Gabino
that's
Viper we were talking about, the hybrid Gaboon rhino.
yeah. That's what
Those are
I
crazy
originally
too.
wanted a rhino. I really wanted
Rhinos
a
are beautiful
rhino.
too.
I know, I know. And then I got then I was like, oh, well, maybe if I could actually do it, maybe I would get a gaboon.
I
I don't
think
know.
that rhinos are actually prettier than gaboons. But
I
there's
thought so
something
too.
so iconic about the gaboon's head though.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
just, they're bulky heads, and it's super cool. And I could see the blood python comparison, because if you think about it, I mean, they're built the same way.
They really
They're
are big,
short, heavy
large,
bodied
but
snake.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I had another friend of mine, she just got into bloods, and she doesn't keep venomous, but she's also interested in gaboon vipers too. And she was like, "Oh yeah, I was talking to somebody, and they all said like they kind of like hide out like gaboon vipers sometimes, like in their little leaves or like mesh or anything like
Yes.
that."
I mean, if you think about it, their body type is perfect for just sitting there and waiting.
Yeah,
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 I mean, they're not going to be going and finding stuff. They're going to sit there, and they're going to hide, and they're going to wait until something walks by, and they're going to snatch it up.
yeah, exactly. What's gonna probably end up happening? I probably, unfortunately, it's a lot of money, but although never say never. I think I'll probably end up taking like a tour or somebody, just so that they can, even if I have to drive, I'll take the drive,
It's worth
um,
it to learn
and,
about
and
what you want to
tour
do.
and tour. Yeah, yeah. Even if I can't keep it in my house.
Yeah, I mean, in Illinois, you would need a permit, right?
I need a permit for hog noses too.
That is so crazy. You were telling me that. That is ridiculous.
Yeah,
That is
yeah. I
that
think you
is
have to have
ridiculous.
a permit for bull snakes as well.
Right, because
Um,
they're indigenous, right?
they are native, yeah, like that type of stuff.
That's ridiculous too. I mean, like,
Yeah,
it's difficult to explain to these lawmakers that the pet snakes they're making laws about are domesticated animals. I mean, you're not going to be getting a wild hognose. You're not going to be
right.
getting a wild bull snake. You're probably going to get some awesome color morph that's been
I think that's
captive bred
what they
for
fear though,
generations.
is that they don't want, people just going out and herping and taking these animals into their houses
I
and something
think that's
happening
the
to
thought
poor.
behind it. And
Right,
someone really, I mean, it's hard to get them to listen. And that's why I encourage people that are in this for business reasons, because we all start out as hobbyists, right? But
right,
people that are really in this as a business, for some reason, and I'm not correcting anybody, I'm not running around and then every time they speak correcting them, but it kind of irks me when people say reptile hobby and they have 500 snakes. I'm like, is this really a hobby for you because you have 500 snakes? You know what I mean? It doesn't sound like it's a hobby. You know what I mean? And it
At that
irks
point,
me.
I'm like, no, if this is a hobby for you, then you're just an addict. Like,
Right. And I, and there's nothing, if you keep 500 snakes as a hobby, kudos to you because we all want to, you know, but we aren't going to be taken seriously by lawmakers as professionals
right.
unless we say industry. You know
And I
what I
wanted
mean?
to also point out, you saw, was it New Palestine, Indiana, right next door to me
There's some
with
crazy
that whole
law going
thing.
on, but I don't know what it is. What is it?
So you go, I think if I understood, they're trying to like essentially, I don't know, ban certain snakes or all snakes or reptiles or something like that.
It's
So
ridiculous.
definitely go back and check on USARC and
USARC is the
speak
best. Everyone should be members of USARC. Yeah.
speak to your lawmakers, Congress, people of your state, is the best way to,
Send an email. It's not difficult. Every law that comes up, they give you a sample email to send out. They give
yeah,
you the emails of all your local politicians. You copy and paste everything and write your name in. I mean, I've
right,
emailed before in where I live in Virginia, and I never heard anything about it, so they must have beat it. But some lady that was a senator was trying to make a law that you can't breed any type of reptile at all. Or really, I
yeah.
believe it may have been inclusive to other things too, but it was like you can't breed anything. You could keep stuff as
Yeah,
pets, but
or
you can't
essentially,
breed
like there
anything.
are some states that are like at this point they're like about to make like ball pythons, essentially
And
almost
that's
like
ridiculous.
you can't keep a ball python.
Right, and they
So
don't realize ball pythons have been captive bred since the 70s.
right,
And I mean they're 50 years late in realizing that these are pets, you know.
the
And
best way I say is speak to your laws makers, speak up, fight back,
yeah,
not physically, but like speak up, because that's the only way that.
not physically, that's a good one to throw in there.
Not physically, but speak up. That's the best way so that these people understand that no, like there are people that know what they're doing, on the best way that we can, you know, make sure that these animals stay around is also keeping them and studying them and understanding them. Getting
I
rid of them and just
completely
banning them.
I completely agree, Ashley. And the problem is when you or I alone goes to them and says, you know what, I keep these as pets. I love them. They're domesticated. They don't care at all unless
Right,
there's money involved.
right.
So when you and I go and say something to them, it doesn't matter. But if Morph Market goes and says, this is a big business, we have a huge company based on this. We're paying people's salaries. We're making this much per year, and you're trying to outlaw how we feed our families. And that's when they start taking it seriously. Is when they
Right.
realize there's money involved
Because there
in
are a lot of
revenue.
people that drop their 9 to 5s to do this full time too.
Absolutely,
You
and it's
know.
not just breeders. It's people that are breeding feeders or making cages or a lot of stuff like that. And with the I don't know if you remember, but a while back they banned Burmese pythons and retics, or at least the interstate transport of them. I don't know if they were fully banned.
In Florida, they're very banned, as you
I
know.
know they're still banned in Florida, but it was actually countrywide. They banned.
Really?
Yes, it's. I believe it was called. It may have been the Lacey Act, or it was an amendment to the Lacey Act. But they banned Burmese pythons and retics, and they were going to ban boas. And what happened was,
Really?
yes, and I heard Vin Russo talking about this, so that's where I got this from. But he said when PetSmart came in, I believe it was PetSmart or Petco, that's when they finally listened. When they said we have SKUs for this, this is a product that we sell, and they're a big business. They immediately dropped those items off,
Which is
and
funny because like
yeah.
I don't want to hate on those type of pet stores, but
No,
it's
they're
like
horrible. Yeah,
if
I'm
that's
cool with
what's
hating
gonna
on
save us,
them. Those big chains are horrible. I literally, but they take them serious because they're a big chain. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And that's
exactly.
unfortunate that they don't care about people like us that are just
Right.
individuals. the only thing that they care about is money, and money makes the world go round. And that's why I try to encourage people to be professional and push it forward in that way that are doing this full time, like I am. I started doing this full time, so that's why I'm speaking so seriously about it. But
Yeah,
yeah, my dad called me. I mean, he went into a Petco like a couple months ago, and he was
yeah.
like, "Kyle, you would not believe this." And he said there was a turtle just dead in the
I mean,
container.
it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me,
I
but
well,
like at the same time, I'm like,
exactly,
come
yeah.
on, guys.
Yeah, and I mean, to have an animal just there dead shows you the level of care,
Yeah,
and I've gotten reptiles from PetSmart not knowing any better,
right,
back in the day, and the amount of information they were able to give me was slim to none, and they
right.
didn't know anything about the care,
Or
and
they
they
have
just
like tarantulas at the one that I work at. I don't work at, but there's business in the PetSmart that I work at. Um, and if I wanted to buy like an arachnid of some sort, I think I would probably be the one that has to get it out.
yeah, because they're scared to touch it. Yeah. And you know what? Kudos to you. It's fine to work at one. You know what I mean? Because you probably got in it for all the right reasons. And a great example of someone that worked at, I believe, PetSmart is Emily from Snake Discovery.
Yeah,
Uh,
I work at the Banfield. I work for Banfield.
oh, that's cool.
I
Yeah, for sure.
I take care of your cats and dogs and the guineas.
Yeah, and you know what? They know a lot more about at least cats and dogs. I can't speak for the small animal section, but they know a lot more about cats and dogs than they do about reptiles. And that's probably what's keeping them in business. You know.
Yeah.
Because if they just sold reptiles, they would tank so quick. I mean, they'd have no clue what they're talking about as far as reptiles, as I'm sure you know. You know.
No, but I know the one I was listening to another of our podcast friends, herp collectors, the other night, with G.I. Joe and his crew. And they were talking literally, and I think they might be doing it again for part two sometime. I don't remember when, but they'll be doing essentially like laws and restrictions on retics. And I was listening a little bit to that, and that's a good one to listen to, guys. Plugging that little podcast in.
Yeah, and I don't want to like get stuck too much in talking about things that are negative, but unfortunately, we can't ignore it.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a
and
reality.
yeah, and I
It's
think
it's
people
the
would.
way that's how we're gonna keep things, is we have to discuss it.
That's exactly what I'm getting to. Exactly, you get it. So, yeah, I mean, people are quick to say, you know what? I have a ball python. Why do I care if they ban retics? Because it gives them precedent to ban your ball python. And that's what people don't realize is
What's next? What's
right. What
next?
is
What's
after that? Well,
next?
then they'll just ban the boas and the carpet pythons. And then eventually it'll come down to you can't have reptiles. They're scary. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Or whatever
yeah,
they want to think. And that's why we have to care about each and every animal that they're banning. So once again, go to usarc.org and sign up. How low are the memberships, Ashley? Do you know? I think I have like the $40
there's
one right now.
I think there's a 21,
Is there
a
20?
20.
Was there 5 at one point, or am I wrong about that? But they start pretty low.
Yeah, yeah,
I
they
mean,
do.
it's cheap to get a
And then you
membership.
can,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and you get like a cool t-shirt.
Yes, you do get a shirt. I just renewed. I got my shirt on the way right now. I'm excited. I don't know what it's going to be, so I'm excited
And
about
then you
that.
got like, if you like your big ballers, I cannot join this tier, but I would if I could. Your USR platinums. You
Yeah, that's
know.
your platinum. I'm not platinum yet, but don't I when it's time I'll be platinum.
Yeah.
For sure. So, whichever tier is like $40, that's the one I am right now. Um,
Okay.
I don't know if it's silver or gold or whatever, but yeah, we're all aiming for platinum. It should be. We gotta get that platinum level. Can't wait to go triple platinum. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, right now the thing I'm most excited about actually is these jungle carpets that I'm getting in.
Yes.
Even though I'm yeah.
I'm over here just envying you over here. You got the jungles, you got freaking venomous tours.
I mean, I'm doing, and literally I've dropped everything I was doing to start doing this full time. And
Yeah.
you know, when you first start a business, you're going through the starvation phase
Yeah.
where, you know, you're struggling to make a buck and you're just putting it together. But I've been always the building type of person. And right now I'm building a foundation for my future career in reptiles.
I
So, you
love
know,
that.
yeah, I'm building up my breeding stock. I'm building my relationships. You know, I'm building my connections and stuff like that. So, it's pretty interesting, and I'm building up my YouTube because YouTube is a great platform, and I do a lot of fun stuff that's not based around me. You know what I mean? I go to tour people, but I think that my stuff is pretty fun too. I go to expos as well, and
Yeah.
you know, I make sure to do a lot of those because it gives you a different perspective. You know, even just seeing someone that keeps, you know, like Dan keeps blood pythons, and
Yeah.
Dan bred tiger rat snakes, spilotes. And I
Yeah.
mean, I can only think of him and Stephen Cush. That's the only people that I know that have bred spilotes personally. I mean, as far as Stephen, I just talked to him online, but maybe Dan from DM Exotics. I don't know if you know who he is. He may have bred them. But I mean, how
I'll
many
have to look
people
him
have
up.
bred tiger rat snakes? Dan has some cool stuff, and
Yeah.
Dan is a guy like I've never bought anything from Dan. From DM Exotics, there's two Dans I'm talking about right now, but from DM Exotics. But shout outs to him because he brings in some crazy cool stuff, and whenever I hit him up with a question, because he has some of the most obscure, you know, snakes that you could ever think of, and they're just cool. If I hit him up with a question, he answers it, and I have
Yeah.
never bought anything from him. And that's what, you know, the community's all about too. You know, is this when it comes down to it? Yeah, I'm doing this full time, but the what's keeping me going is not the money right now because the money is not there yet. You know what I mean? What keeps me going is coming, you know, to my snake room and seeing all this crazy stuff that I have that is thriving, that I'm
Your
taking
support
care of.
systems, your
Yeah,
animals, your passions. That's the start of it.
absolutely. And the people as well are wonderful. And yeah, I mean, it's the passion that keeps me going, not the money. And that's how it should be for everybody. No one should get into this as a pyramid scheme like they were recently saying about ball pythons or stuff like that. And then, you know, the pyramid, right? But you know, no one should get into it for that reason, and if you do, you're
Right.
crazy because if you hatch
Half
out
those things, like that's a gamble within itself if you're just doing it for money.
these are live animals.
Right.
I mean, how much more of a gamble can you take than a live animal? You
Right.
know what I mean? That's a huge gamble. You know, if they slug out on their clutch, then you just took a loss if you're thinking about it from a business perspective. But if you're just loving the animals, then it's a learning experience.
Right.
You know
As
what
it
I
should be.
mean?
I mean,
Yeah.
we're always here for learning and educating.
Yeah, and on the industry thing where I was saying say industry, the reason I think that people don't say industry is because I feel like they think it makes them sound like they don't love the animals. And
And when you put the title industry,
when people say industry, I think they like to say hobby because hobby shows that it's a passion. But industry they may feel like doesn't convey that.
yeah,
But if you're in the reptile industry, it should be the passion should be a given. You know what I mean? This should be the reason that you're doing what you love as a career. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think that people, you know, realize that there's nothing wrong with doing what you love for a living if you can make it work. And I'm doing my best to make it work right now. And I'm like I said, same thing as I said with the white lip pythons. I'm gonna make it work. It's just a matter of time. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
I love that go getter vibe though. That go getter energy. I'ma do it,
You
whether it
gotta
takes me, tonight, tomorrow, or 5 years from now. I'ma do it.
manifest it, Ashley.
Yes.
You gotta manifest it. And yeah, I mean that's the attitude, that it takes. And I'm a sponge for information. I have a lot of my own experience and information, and not always when I was younger, but from reptiles, I like to learn from other people's mistakes. When I was growing up as a kid, I had to learn everything the hard way because I didn't listen to anybody. But
Yeah, that's how most of a lot of us learned.
but with reptiles, I really like to learn from other people's mistakes. So the
Right.
stuff that I really like is when people are talking about, oh, I had this bad experience and this is why it happened. A lot of times I learn more from that stuff than by someone telling me everything that you can do to do the right thing.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'll learn more from people telling me when they did the wrong thing. And a lot of people are scared to say when they did something wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's nice to hear, I'm constantly sponging up information from everybody that's been in this for years and years and years. And what I've decided from listening to all of them is the key to success in this business and in reptiles in general, even if you're doing it as a hobby, if you're breeding or anything like that, or just keeping, is just not quitting. And no matter
Right.
what happens, you just keep going. You know what I mean? So being determined is super important.
Right. I was gonna ask you one last question too, because I
Sure.
know you got Courtney. We already talked about Courtney, and I know. Have you gotten your kids involved with the care caring for
Ab-
the snakes?
Absolutely. Both my kids are very comfortable with all the snakes and the reptiles. And yeah, like my older son is great with snakes. He loves them. And they have a cool perspective because they're kids. They have a more carefree
Right.
attitude. And my 2-year-old has literally no fear whatsoever. I mean,
Hmm. And
he's like,
that's what I like
you
about
know,
kids is like they're very open-minded. They have yet to build a
yeah, he's like,
stigma against them.
yeah, they have no, and he like, my older son, we didn't have reptiles right away because I had reptiles a while back, and then and this has happened to a lot of people. This is basically my second chance with reptiles. So I mean, I had reptiles way back, like I told you, when I was younger, in
Yeah.
my teen years, and then I got somewhere into my 20s, and life got different, and then I only had 3 snakes, but I rehomed them, and I always regretted that.
Yeah.
I miss them. I want to know where they are. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I vowed that when I got snakes again, I would never get rid of them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Unless it's something I'm breeding to sell, but even that's difficult. Um, but as a good keeper, it should be. But yeah, so my oldest son, he didn't always have reptiles around,
Yeah.
but he loves them, and he's like he'll have like goofy explanations for what they're doing, and he has a whole fresh perspective on everything, and he's old enough to where I can pass him my 8-foot retic, and with me standing right there, and
Yeah.
with guidance, he can handle it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's really cool. And then my younger son has always grown up around reptiles,
Yeah.
so it's funny to watch him, and he literally I had my nephew over a week ago, and he's cool too. Like, he just likes to. He has that. He's not scared, but he likes to talk like he is to make it more exciting. Do you know what I mean? So he's
Yeah.
he's kind of like has the Coyote Peterson thing going on that I was talking about. But he was holding. I had him and my older son holding my retake, and I actually put up pictures of it. But he's like, "What is she doing now? Oh, she's trying to kill me!" And she's literally just like, she's just minding her own business, like just like your snake's doing right now,
Yeah.
just like Hades is doing right now.
Yeah.
Eva was just minding her own business. She's as sweet as can be, but retics are semi-arboreal. They have that tail. They are strong.
Yeah.
She's just holding on to his arm, and he
Yeah.
was like, "She's trying
And
to
she felt
break
he
my
felt the
arm."
yeah, the constriction. Yeah.
Yeah, like, what is she doing? And then my 2-year-old was just sitting there, and he was like watching like Sesame Street on a tablet, and he's just like looking at it, And then my nephew that's like 12 is like freaking out, and he just looked up and he was like, "Ha!" and then just like looked back down. But it
I
kind of
love it. I
it
love it.
it describes his personality with reptiles. To him, it's just something that's normally part of everyone's life, and he
Yeah.
has not come to the point where he has realized that not everybody has this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's normal to him. So yeah, my kids are definitely involved. Courtney, my wonderful wife, is involved, and both of my parents are involved. Like
Really?
Courtney does a lot of things, but I had some white lips that I needed to probe, and I'm talking about adult white lips, the wild caught ones.
Yeah.
Um, and my dad, he grew up on a farm, so he grew
Okay.
up
Yeah. I
on,
can get.
yeah,
I
on a
can see
pig.
that.
Like I was raised on stories about him like castrating pigs and like
Oh
all this stuff, and
God.
I'm like, I was like, you know what? Let me talk to him, and I think that he would help me hold these animals while I probe them because I needed someone to hold them. So
Yeah.
yeah, like I talked to him, and then he was like, all right, like no hesitation. And then he helped me, and it went great. No, had no issues at all. But him diving in there, and like my mom like tries to make them all like she does what you guys were talking about, where she makes every animal all cutesy. You know what I mean? And even more so than me because I love them. But she's like, "Oh, isn't this one just the sweetest?" And and she'll be holding all types of different stuff, and I'm just like, it's so cool to see people, a generation above me keeping an open mind and changing because of
Right.
my
That's what I
passion.
love. That's what I love. I
Yeah.
my situation was the same way. Like my mom would always be like, she's a snakes on a plane kind of chick. Um,
I'm
and
tired of
like,
these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane.
but I know that and I have like spiders and arachnids too. And she came to my house. She's been over to my house. And this lady that would freaking have a hysterical panic attack. She's walking into my house. She's like, okay, they can stay over there, okay. And then like I've had her, she's like pet Horace. I'm like, who am I thinking of? Horace up here. And she was a little nervous at first, but she was like, oh, it's not that bad. And then when I had my house snake at the time, she held my house snake, and I'm like, look at you doing all this.
Yeah,
She's
that
still
moment
probably,
is
I don't catch my mom buying a snake, but she's come around to it, you know?
that moment is so rewarding, right?
Yeah, yeah. Even like even my sister, she's in her teenage phase. I love her, but she kind of a snot. And she's I'm not touching that. Ooh, you keep snakes. And then like she like um she pet I think it was this guy actually. And she's like, "Oh, he's really soft actually, like really smooth, like he's not slimy." Like so I love hearing that type of like people that were like, "Oh my God, this snake's gonna eat me." You're like, "Oh, it's not that bad, I guess."
Absolutely.
Or
Yeah. I
all
mean,
walks of life,
yeah.
even like your dad, good old farm boy, like, all right, I'll stretch it out while you probe.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. And it's like you just said about your sister. Some
Yeah.
people have different comfort levels. It starts with a touch.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because most people think it's gonna be slimy for
Right. And
whatever reason.
yeah. Certain people you can't just pop a snake into their hands.
Yeah.
They're gonna freak out.
Yeah.
You got to judge
A
different
lot of
people's
it
comfort
when
level.
especially kids too, when they're like curious about it, but they don't, want a snake in their face. I'd be like, here, I'll hold this in. You hold this in. You can
Yep.
touch that part.
Yep.
Oh God, I love this community, and I really like this podcast.
It's the
So
best, and you guys have a wonderful podcast. And I know it's gonna go really far. So it's nice to
I
be
hope
here
so.
somewhat at the
I really
beginning.
hope so. Yeah.
I can say I knew about them when they first started, so I told you so. You know. So that's kind of nice to be here at the beginning of your guys'
Here, we
podcast.
got a question. We got a good old question. He said, Kyle. He meant Kyle. Kyle should actually continue to do this podcast. Should
So
I?
a lot of people think my name is Mark because it's Markham Reptiles, but Markham is my last name. Um,
I even made the mistake myself, and I felt like an idiot.
oh,
But
you know what?
Kyle,
You did, and I totally forgot because so many people do it.
because
So I
I
don't take it
messaged,
offensively at all.
I was like, Mark, I got the
People think my
whitelist.
name is Mark Ham, like I'm the brother of the guy from Mad Men. But but yeah, absolutely you should continue to do the podcast. You're very cool. You bring on very cool people, and you bring
I
on
try.
people that interest you, and that makes it interesting. You bring on people that have species or do things that interest you, and I think that that makes you very interesting because we're learning right along with you. So absolutely, you
Yeah.
should be continuing to do the podcast. Chris, she should absolutely continue.
Okay, well, if you guys got some people that would be interested, let me know. Otherwise, it's gonna be cut short.
You know what? You know, I probably could slide you some people that will do it. So
I would love that.
I
Like I
will
said,
refer
this
some people to you.
my next episode after this one, which I also agree with this one. Love this episode. Me too.
Thank you, Chris.
Um,
And you know what? You made it better by popping in too.
that was great, right? I was
Very
like,
cool
Chris.
cameo. Yes. I've talked to Chris a lot of messages, so it was nice to talk to him, verbally,
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. Um, I think after like my next episode, I'm not sure where the direction is gonna go, but we'll see what happens. Um, so I'm fair warning everybody, I got a couple episodes left in me. I don't want to go. It's not goodbye forever, but
Are you thinking of going?
see you later. No, I don't want to go is the thing, but I also just don't want to, I need more people. I need
Oh yeah, if
more,
people is
more
the issue,
friends,
I
more
think that
friends.
you may not realize it, but you already know people that will send you more people. You know what I mean? I think that
I
if you
have
just
heard
talk
that
to
before.
people, especially people that you've had on already, that have
Yeah,
had the experience, that know, what a good conversation it is, and that you're providing this platform, I think that people will definitely refer people to you. And I could refer people to you as well.
I would love that.
Yeah, I absolutely could send you some people. And I'm sure out of the people that I try to send, somebody will come on. Maybe more than
Yeah.
one person. So yeah, if that's the only obstacle, but otherwise, like if you're stopping for some other reason, don't let us stop your dreams and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I like your podcast. I listen to it. I
Thank
think it's
you. I've
awesome.
heard a
Yeah.
couple. I've heard a couple people be like, "It's really good. You're doing really good," and I'm like, "Really,
Absolutely. I mean,
guys?"
if I'm down here cleaning snakes like I am every day,
You told me, yeah, you're like, I'm clean as snakes, and I got it on. I got Jen over here. She'll do her
yeah,
erected cleaning. She's like, I'm listening to your episode. I'm like, oh, I do the same thing for you, Jen.
yeah, the first thing I'm doing is turning on a podcast, and you have a good
Yeah,
podcast, or lifting weights. I know Chris is very into fitness, so he'll
yeah.
relate to
He's got
that.
his flexing and finessing reptiles. So
Absolutely. It's nice to take your mind off, that the monotony of you're continuing your workout routine with listening to something that's also stimulating your brain. So you're
yeah.
stimulating your brain while you're stimulating your body. And it's nice to listen to stuff like this while you work out too.
All right. Well, before I end it, I think I said it with Shira, my last episode. I'm trying to be more mindful and feed everybody's brains a little bit. So I wanted to end off on a quote, but also thank you again for joining me for my little episode. I loved our conversations and our laughs and our giggles.
Absolutely. And you know what? If you ever have, I mean, a different topic or anything like that, I'd be happy to
Yeah,
personally come back as well.
yeah.
There's many
I
things we
would
can
I would
talk
like
about.
to have some people come on back too. So
Yeah.
yeah. All right. So my quote for today, pretty simple. Uh, Be as flexible and adaptable as a snake, and life will become your playground.
Ah, I like that.
I like that too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
All
nice.
right. All right, guys. It's been real. And yes, it's the real short tail sweetie here. Don't let the hacker try and stiff you for money.
Not the fake, you guys.
It's
Yeah, I had
gotta
a
say
great
short.
time.
It's gotta say short tail sweetie two with the two.
If they start talking about cousins, it's not her, you guys.
That's how my one friend was like, I know this ain't her because she ain't got cousins. Who is this?
That's great. But yeah, I had a great time on here. Everyone go follow me on YouTube, Markham
Yes,
Reptiles.
yes. And he's also going to be joining Jen on her next podcast here.
Yeah, tune
So
in for
watch that.
Jen on Unhinged Peculiars. I'm going to be on there next week.
Yeah,
And Ashley, it's been absolutely wonderful. Thank you for having me.
absolutely, guys. All right, everybody. Deuces.
Take care.